Hi, welcome back. Today's lesson is complex fractions and unit rates. Our essential question is, how can I apply complex fractions to find a unit rate?
Yep.
So he's going
There we go. All right, so we got some vocabulary to start with. A complex fraction is a fraction within a fraction. So you'll see our example down below. We have a fraction inside of the problem. The fraction can be in the numerator, so the top of our fraction. It can be in the denominator, or as the example below, it can be in both. And then a complex fraction is simplified when our denominator is turned into a 1.
So we're going to handle our example just like we did yesterday. 2/5 divided by 3/4. We are going to divide the numerator by the denominator. So with fractions, that has us multiplying by the reciprocal. So we are multiplying numerator and denominator by 4/3.
So we can't divide by fractions, so instead we're multiplying by that reciprocal.
On the denominator, our 3's are going to cancel out, our 4's are going to cancel out, and the denominator is now 1, which is what our goal is. We look for the numerator to see if we could cross simplify. Doesn't happen in this problem. So 2 times 4 is 8, and 5 times 3 is 15. So our answer is 8/15.
All
there
right.
you go.
So let's see this in action with another one. So a reminder, that big main fraction bar really just means you are dividing. So we're going to treat it just like a division problem. Remember, if you have a whole number in the problem, like our 2 here, remember you can write a whole number as a fraction by just writing it over 1. So this is really 2/1 divided by 2/3. We can't divide by a fraction, so we're going to multiply by its reciprocal, because remember we want to turn that denominator, that lower half, into a 1, because it's still a unit rate. The 2's cancel out, the 3's cancel out, and I'm left with 1 down here. Hopefully it's coming. There it goes. Up here, my 2 and 2 can cancel out and divide by 2 to become 1's. 3 times 1 is 3, 1 times 1 is 1. And this really simplifies down to just 3. So we're dividing to turn into a unit rate, but since we can't divide by a fraction, we're multiplying by its reciprocal.
I think it's a little bit more difficult to understand because we don't have any labels like we
Yes.
did the other day. So 8/15 divided by 5/1. We're going to multiply numerator and denominator by the reciprocal of 1/5. So that cancels out our denominator. We now have a denominator of 1. 8/15 times 1/5. I get no cross simplifying again. 8 times 1 is 8, and 15 times 5 is 75. So we have 8/75 of something.
All right, next one, 1/4 divided by 7/10. So I want to divide by my denominator, divide by 7/10, but I can't, so I have to multiply by its reciprocal. Because remember, our goal is always to turn that denominator into a 1. Here, 4 and 10 could both be divided by 2.
Simplifying, there you go.
I try to give you the easy ones. When I can't simplify anymore, now I multiply. 1 times 5 is 5. 2 times 7 is 14. Over 1 is the same thing as 5/14. Now let's put it to use in some problems.
All right, Mary is making a pillow for her FCS class. She bought 2.5 yards of fabric. Her total was $15. What is the cost per 1 yard? So we got 2.5 yards.
No,
$15, sorry.
Money
always goes on top. $15 is our numerator. 2.5 is our denominator. Can we change 2.5 to 5/2, please?
All
So
right.
15 divided by 5/2. That gives us a fraction so that we can multiply by the reciprocal.
Sorry, I forgot my units.
So we're going to multiply numerator and denominator by 2/5. Please. There we go. Gives us,
and 15, I can write it as 15/1. Sorry about that.
all right, that gives us 1 on the denominator now. So per 1 yard. And we're going to simplify. Woohoo! 5 into 15 is 3. Now multiply across. 3 times 2 is $6. $6 per 1 yard. It finally makes sense.
All right, so in this case, you got to keep it as a rate because we need those units in there. So it wouldn't just simplify to be 6, it'd be $6 over 1 yard. We're finding out how much per yard. So now is where those units really kind of matter for us. Now we have Josiah can jog 1 1/3 miles in 1/4 of an hour. Find his average speed in miles per hour. Go ahead.
Miles is going to be your numerator, and denominator will be hours.
So let that problem drive where you're going to put each of those different pieces.
Trying to give you some time to write, sorry.
That's right. We got to change our mixed numbers into improper fractions. Remember, 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4/3 miles over 1/4 hour. Again, we want to turn our denominator into a 1, so we're going to multiply by its reciprocal, 4/1, and do the same thing up top. Down here, everything cancels out, and I'm left with 1 hour, which is what I wanted. Up here, there's nothing to simplify, so I'm going to have 4 times 4 is 16. 3 times 1 is 3. So I have 16/3 of a mile. Now we're going to switch it back to a mixed number, because it doesn't make sense to know how many thirds of a mile I have. 3 goes into 16 5 times with 1 left over. So 5 1/3 mile per hour in 1 hour.
Lots of steps to that one.
All right, we are done.